Look at this coastline. It was not built for fishermen. It was not built for ordinary shipping routes or modest sailboats. It was built for billionaires. It is a sanctuary for floating mansions, private crews, offshore wealth, and the kind of money that never stays in one single country for too long. But what happens if the yachts slow down? What happens if the berths stay empty for just a little too long? And what happens when the sea, the salt, the sand, the security systems, the dredging crews, and the maintenance bills keep demanding payment long after the money leaves? Dubai built a coastline for money that can leave, but the coastline itself cannot leave, and neither can the cost. Dubai's waterfront does not fail when one yacht sails away. It fails when the cost stays behind. Did Dubai build a coastline, or did it build a highly calibrated machine for attracting mobile wealth? To understand the scale of what is sitting on the Arabian Gulf, you must stop looking at the water and start looking at the economics. A marina in Dubai is not just a parking spot for boats. It is the anchor point for an entire ecosystem of extreme luxury. When a superyacht enters the harbor, it does not arrive alone. It acts as a massive financial catalyst. It brings docking fees, massive fuel purchases, and wages for private crews. It immediately activates the surrounding five-star hotels, high-end restaurants, exclusive beach clubs, and the luxury real estate market. A yacht is a floating billboard that tells the world the ultra-wealthy are still here. In recent years, Dubai experienced a massive tourism and relocation boom. Millions of visitors and thousands of millionaires flocked to the city, seeking a safe haven and a tax-free lifestyle. The numbers have been staggering, with the city frequently reporting record-breaking tourism metrics. The waterfront machine is operating at absolute maximum capacity. Hotels are full. Berths are occupied. The revenue justifies the immense cost of keeping the artificial islands afloat. But the problem with a luxury machine is incredibly simple. It was never designed to stand still. What happens if global tourism faces a sudden crisis? What if the post-pandemic travel boom naturally cools down, or a global economic shift causes a 10% drop in luxury spending? A 10% drop might sound small, but in an ecosystem built entirely on extreme, high-volume luxury, even a slight hesitation from the global elite removes the crucial top layer of profit. If the steady stream of international wealth begins to look for new destinations, the revenue drops, but the massive infrastructure built to host them remains. The machine still needs fuel to run, even if the passengers decide not to show up. If a city needs yachts to prove it is still a playground for the ultra-rich, what happens when those symbols become less visible? We need to redefine what a superyacht actually is. It is not transportation. It is not simply a toy. It is the ultimate expression of hypermobile capital. A superyacht can drop anchor in Monaco, Miami, Doha, Singapore, or the Caribbean just as easily as it can in Dubai. The owners of these vessels are not bound by geography. They do not owe allegiance to the ports they visit. When a $100 million asset chooses Dubai, it sends a powerful economic signal. It tells international investors that Dubai remains a safe, profitable, and glamorous place to park capital. But the frightening part is not one yacht leaving Dubai. The frightening part is the question that comes before it. The moment an owner asks, "Why should I keep my asset here?" This is where the reality of mobile wealth becomes a vulnerability. We are not talking about a global luxury yacht boycott. We are talking about the natural, restless movement of the world's richest people. Their assets are designed to chase the best weather, the most favorable tax laws, and the most exclusive new experiences. If they perceive that another city offers a better season or a more exclusive environment, they turn the key and leave. When that happens, the city loses more than a boat. It loses the halo effect. The surrounding restaurants sell fewer premium bottles. The luxury brokers have fewer high-net-worth individuals to tour penthouses. The economic signal shifts from arrival to departure. And for a city that sells the promise of endless growth, a departure is the one signal it cannot afford to broadcast. If luxury wealth came to Dubai because it felt safe, what happens when that safety becomes part of the global conversation? Superyachts are uniquely sensitive barometers of global geopolitics. Over the past few years, the world watched as extreme wealth became highly politicized. Following global conflicts and the resulting economic sanctions, superyachts transformed from mere status symbols into heavily scrutinized assets. We have all seen the international headlines. Certain vessels linked to sanctioned individuals were tracked moving across the oceans, seeking jurisdictions where they would not be seized. Dubai, with its neutral stance and welcoming financial environment, became an incredibly attractive harbor during times of intense global tension. But this brings us to a very sharp double-edged sword. Wealth flows into safe havens quickly when the world is unstable. However, safe havens are not immune to international pressure. Did Dubai inadvertently tie its waterfront economy to the most volatile class of wealth on Earth? The presence of highly scrutinized wealth brings international attention. It brings questions about compliance, global banking standards, and the origin of funds. While Dubai has successfully navigated this complex landscape so far, the fundamental truth remains. Luxury assets do not just run from bad weather. They run from political, legal, and reputational risk. If the global narrative shifts, or if international regulatory pressure increases, the very wealth that sought refuge might decide it is time to move again. The owners will protect their assets first and worry about the empty berths later. The political climate is just as unpredictable as the ocean. But when a yacht leaves to escape global scrutiny, the most expensive part of its stay does not leave with it. It stays deeply submerged under the water. Did Dubai create valuable coastline, or did it create more coastline that must be defended forever? Look at the shape of Palm Jumeirah, or the World Islands from a satellite. These are engineering miracles. But the ocean does not care about miracles. The ocean only understands physics. Dubai did not just build upon its natural shoreline. It radically altered the geography of the coast. To create the ultimate luxury waterfront, millions of tons of sand and rock were dredged from the seafloor and piled up to create artificial landmasses, breakwaters, and deep-water marinas. But the ocean is a dynamic, aggressive force. Water is always moving. Sand is always shifting. Coastal currents are constantly trying to return the seabed to its original state. When you place a massive artificial island in the path of natural ocean currents, the water flow changes. Areas that used to have fast-moving water suddenly become stagnant. Areas that were perfectly balanced suddenly experience rapid sand accumulation. The deep channels required for superyachts begin to slowly fill with silt and sediment. The artificial coastline is in a permanent state of war with the Arabian Gulf. To win this war, you cannot just build the island and walk away. You must actively defend it every single day. Specialized dredging ships must constantly vacuum sand from the bottom of the marinas to ensure the water remains deep enough for yacht keels. Heavy machinery must constantly reinforce the breakwaters against wave action. The high salinity and extreme temperatures of the Gulf water relentlessly attack metal, concrete, and underwater cables. The sea is always trying to take the land back. Dubai is powerful enough to stop it, but stopping the sea requires a permanent, non-stop flow of cash. The engineering is brilliant, but the maintenance is eternal. And the more exclusive the coastline becomes, the more expensive silence becomes. Can a marina built for billionaire traffic survive if it starts operating like a luxury parking lot with fewer cars? This is the part I find most dangerous. Luxury infrastructure rarely dies from one dramatic collapse. It dies from 1,000 small, repeated bills. Imagine a premium berth in Dubai Harbor or Dubai Marina. When a yacht is docked there, the fees cover the expenses. But what happens when the yacht leaves and the berth sits empty for 3 months? An empty marina is not a cheap marina. The cost of operations does not drop to zero just because the boats are gone. To maintain the status of a world-class luxury destination, the infrastructure must operate flawlessly 24 hours a day. The high-definition security cameras must keep rolling. The elite security personnel must keep patrolling. The massive electrical grids required to power shore connections must remain active. The water filtration systems must keep pumping to prevent the enclosed marina water from becoming stagnant and foul-smelling. Underwater, the relentless chemical battle continues. Cathodic protection systems must constantly draw electricity to prevent the steel pylons from rusting into the saltwater. Floating docks require continuous structural inspections. The electric bill arrives. The dredging company submits their invoice. The security contractors demand their payroll. The insurance premiums for a multi-billion-dollar facility remain astronomically high. An empty berth generates exactly $0 in revenue, but it generates hundreds of dollars in maintenance costs every single day. If you multiply that by dozens of empty berths over months or years, you do not have a business model anymore. You have a financial hemorrhage disguised as a beautiful view. Is the most dangerous moment not when a model fails, but when it succeeds so loudly that nobody wants to look underneath? Saying Dubai is failing would be far too easy, and more importantly, it would be factually wrong, because right now, Dubai is still winning. If you walk through the Dubai Mall, look at the hotel occupancy rates, or check the latest real estate transactions for beachfront villas, you will see a city flush with cash. Tourists are pouring in. Property developers are selling out off-plan luxury apartments in a matter of hours. The skyline is glowing. This video is not predicting a sudden apocalypse. The city has immense financial reserves and a proven ability to reinvent itself. But this incredible success hides the core vulnerability. When a city is booming, when the revenue is flowing like a river, it is very easy to ignore the size of the fixed costs. When you are making billions, a multi-million-dollar annual dredging bill looks like pocket change. The danger lies in the scale of the commitment. Dubai has expanded its artificial coastline so aggressively that the baseline cost just to keep the city existing in its current physical form is staggering. They have built an economic engine that must constantly run at the absolute red line just to maintain its momentum. What happens when the growth finally levels off? Not a crash, just a leveling off. What happens if the massive influx of new residents slows down, but the vast expanse of artificial beaches still needs fresh sand every year? When a city builds an empire based on continuous explosive growth, even a period of normal economic stability can feel like a crisis. The bills do not care if the real estate market is having a slow quarter. And when a city sells perfection, even small signs of weakness become incredibly expensive. If a city makes money from looking flawless, can an empty marina ever be just an empty marina? For most cities in the world, infrastructure is just a functional utility. A bridge is meant to carry cars. A dock is meant to tie up a boat. If a dock looks a little old, it does not matter as long as it works. Dubai is playing an entirely different game. In Dubai, the infrastructure is the product. The image is the economy. Dubai sells a very specific psychological concept to the global elite, the promise of a pristine, futuristic, utterly flawless environment. Wealthy individuals move their assets and their families to Dubai because they want to escape the crumbling infrastructure, the dirt, and the decay of older Western cities. They are paying a premium for perfection. This creates a terrifying trap. A luxury brand cannot afford to look tired. If a marina in a normal city has a few empty berths or a slightly rusted walkway, people just ignore it. But if a highly exclusive Dubai marina starts to look empty, if the water turns slightly cloudy because the filtration budget was cut, or if a high-end beach club closes down and sits abandoned, the illusion shatters. The ultra-wealthy are incredibly sensitive to the smell of decline. If they perceive that a location is losing its absolute peak status, they do not stick around to help rebuild it. They pack up their Louis Vuitton luggage and direct their captains to set sail. Therefore, Dubai has no choice. It must keep spending millions to polish the marble, dredge the sand, and light up the empty harbors, purely to maintain the illusion that the party is still going strong. They are trapped in a cycle where they must fund the maintenance not just for structural integrity, but for psychological warfare. But Dubai is not the only place trying to sell this perfectly polished dream. If yachts are some of the most mobile assets on Earth, did Dubai build too much fixed infrastructure around something that can leave overnight? For a long time, Dubai enjoyed a unique monopoly in its region. If you wanted absolute, tax-free luxury with world-class infrastructure in the Middle East, there was only one real option. That monopoly is over. Look across the border. Saudi Arabia is pouring unimaginable amounts of sovereign wealth into the Red Sea. They are building entirely new, hyper-futuristic luxury islands and ultra-exclusive yachting hubs designed specifically to siphon off the exact same billionaires that Dubai relies on. Look further west. The traditional Mediterranean powerhouses like Monaco, the French Riviera, and new high-end marinas in Greece and Italy are aggressively upgrading their facilities. They are changing tax incentives to lure the superyachts back for the summer seasons. Miami is continuously expanding its waterfront capacity. Singapore dominates the Asian luxury maritime route. The competition for the world's floating wealth has never been more intense. This presents a massive structural problem for Dubai. A Russian oligarch or an American tech billionaire is not forced to keep their mega yacht in the Arabian Gulf. They have a global menu of options. If Saudi Arabia offers a newer, quieter, more exclusive marina experience, the yacht simply pulls up its anchor. This is the ultimate paradox of the billionaire coastline. The yachts are perfectly mobile, the capital is perfectly fluid, the billionaires can leave tomorrow. But the millions of tons of dredged sand cannot move. The concrete breakwaters cannot be relocated. The luxury hotels cannot be packed into a suitcase. Dubai has built a massive, immovable mountain of fixed costs, entirely dependent on the whims of the most unattached people on the planet. Did Dubai build a luxury asset, or did it build a permanent bill that only works as long as the richest people on Earth keep showing up? The breaking point for Dubai's waterfront economy will not look like a Hollywood disaster movie. No iconic tower is going to fall into the sea. No artificial island is going to sink beneath the waves overnight. The marinas are not going to suddenly turn into post-apocalyptic ruins. The city has too much pride and too much capital to ever let a dramatic visual collapse happen. The danger is much slower, much quieter, and much more difficult to stop. It looks like a premium berth sitting empty for an entire winter season. It looks like a maintenance bill that rises by 5% every year due to inflation and saltwater corrosion. It looks like a dredging crew returning a little more often because the ocean currents are fighting back harder. It looks like an international buyer hesitating before signing a contract for a waterfront villa. It looks like a superyacht captain quietly advising his owner that the Red Sea might be a better option this year. Dubai has successfully built an absolute miracle in the desert. They forced the ocean to bend to their will. They created a playground that attracted the most demanding wealth in human history. But little by little, the fundamental question about this city changes. For the last 20 years, the question was always, can Dubai build the impossible? They have already answered that. Look at the coastline. They can. The real question, the one that hides beneath the saltwater and the luxury brochures, is much more dangerous. Can Dubai keep paying for the impossible long after the money starts moving somewhere else? This video is not claiming that Dubai's waterfront economy has collapsed, or that a proven global yacht boycott is currently destroying the city. It examines a structural vulnerability. We are looking at what happens when extremely expensive artificial waterfront infrastructure depends on the continuous movement of ultra-wealthy capital, luxury tourism, and mobile maritime assets. If you want the next episode, we will look at the other hidden threat under Dubai's coastline. We will investigate what saltwater, extreme heat, and shifting artificial sands are doing to the structural integrity of the buildings that make this city look unstoppable. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss it.